Journey to Lemora, Chapter 17, The Grove. We traveled through the deepest part of the woods when parts started to feel familiar. The trees opened up to a grove with a huge oak tree in the center, just like in my dream. The grove was lit up by hundreds of tiny lights, much like lightning bugs in our world, except they were actually pollen floating gently in the air. There was at least 100 other elves in the grove. Some were in the branches of the tree, sleeping in hanging hammocks, talking amongst each other, or singing and dancing. As we approached, however, they all stopped, cautiously staring as we walked past. They all had similar tree bark brown skin and varying shades of green and yellow hair. The children actually had green skin, much like saplings of trees, and they hid themselves behind their mothers. Some had morphed into trees, their elf bodies vanishing before our eyes. We walked to the center where an elder elf with deep withered wrinkles etched in her face was resting among the roots. Her robes, which wrapped around her, were fine cloth with mossy green webbing. She had dark, rusty brown hair for someone her age. The other elves knelt before her, and I realized she must have been their leader. Then I saw Anyu's tiny cat figure standing next to her in the roots, waiting for us. Elven guards stood at attention on either side of her, and our guide knelt down too, speaking rapidly in Elven language. When you approach, you must kneel. I know you probably don't understand them yet, so I will help you, Anyu instructed, and we did as he said. As the elder stood up, everyone else knelt too, and sat still to listen.
Jala aljoris, felnes tel felariana, aljore ra teles ilian.
She spoke slowly, rasping in her elvish language, which was translated instantly by Anyu. Welcome, guardians. We are the Phalarians, and the protectors of the wood. We listened to his voice echoing in our mind as she spoke. We have been watching you these last few days, and have decided you are worthy of our counsel. Your seedlings have told us of your kind nature, and our ally, Anyu of the North Wind, tells us of your bravery against the Umbra. We believe we can help each other in our fight against the Elorian armies and their Umbra soldiers. It pains me to hear the Temple of Roshtar has been sullied by the likes of them. We too have lost our magic origin within the forests of Haywood. The crystal lake Mir, which feeds our very heart, Mother Oak Atasa, has been overrun with the same blighted creatures. It was foretold by our seer, Lelian, but we lacked the strength to stop it. With our weakened forces and our guardian Ricarian injured, we have no choice but to turn to outsiders for aid. Train with us, as the guardians of the past have, and help us reclaim our homes. Your pilgrimage will be great, and not without sacrifice. But should you choose this path, we will be victorious, the elder finished, and the whole of the grove waited in silence. Anyu leapt down from the roots and stood before us. The whole grove was frozen, staring at us for our answer. Some of their faces looked scared or worried, but most of the warriors just scowled at us. Should you accept their request, there is no turning back. The Phalarians are a powerful ally, honor-bound, and your best chance of learning both spirit and wood magics. If you accept, you must stand, hold your hand over your chest, and say, Alun Feldoras. They will understand, Anyu explained to only us. We nodded and stood up. There was utter silence around the grove, and every eye was upon us. Even the trees were watching in suspense. Alun Feldoras, we promised together, and the elves erupted into a fierce battle cry. It is done. Eat and rest, guardians. We are eternally grateful for your pledge, the elder spoke as Anyu translated, and laid back into her knot of roots. Another elf stepped forward and bowed to us. She had long, sweeping, light green hair, like that of a willow tree. She was also wearing robes with woven, intricate patterns instead of the leather armor most others were wearing. She looked us over with her sultry purple eyes, but stared at me a little longer than the others. "Catherine, is that you?" she asked, stunned. And I was just as surprised. Anu didn't need to translate for her. She spoke in perfect English. "No, I'm Catty, her daughter," I explained, and she smiled. "Of course. It's wonderful to meet you. Catherine and I were the closest friends, many years ago. You can call me Lelian," she beamed. My heart leapt. She knew my mother, too. Apparently, Mom was pretty popular here. She was friends with both Anu and Lelian. Maybe she knew where she was. Before I could ask, Anu cut in. "Hello, Lelian. It's good to see you," he addressed her. "Anu, my old friend. I see that losing the temple has taken a toll on you, too. You're looking much smaller than the last time I saw you," Lelian observed. "I can still bring fury to the battlefield. You will not be disappointed," he persuaded her, swishing his tail. "Good. I need a private audience with you. Come with me," she said, and led Anu away. Music and dancing had erupted, and many Faelarians looked overjoyed by the events. They brought out weaved baskets filled with fruits and vegetables, and cold, freshly caught fish. We sat down and feasted with them, eating the food off the broad green leaves with our fingers, and listening to their chatter. Although we couldn't understand, we nodded and smiled when they did. Amber decided to roast her fish with her fire magic, and many of the elves gasped and clapped, and even asked to try the fish. Some, however, still wore skeptical scowls, crossing their arms over their chests, unimpressed. "What's their problem?" Nick asked, nodding to one of the male soldiers glaring at him. This young man had his hair in a braided mohawk, which was the darkest shade of green. His skin was walnut brown, and his body rippled with tight muscles. He had a scar running down his chin, which was smooth and hairless. He glared mockingly at us with his vibrant light green eyes. "Rajork, one of our mightiest warriors. He says you don't look like the strong guardians Anu promised us. He wants to see you fight." The elf we had followed here spoke, and sat down next to us. "We'll see about that," Nick muttered, taking an aggressive bite out of his food. "You speak English too?" Amber gasped with a shock. "In the forest, we couldn't understand you." "English? I speak Elorian. My father, Ricarian, says I must know the tongue of our enemy to the south. I am Shayla, Lelian's apprentice. She taught me the way. She sent me. I followed you when you came into our forest, to see if you are friend or foe. I know Anu, and he says you are not Elorian, even though you speak their tongue. I watched you to see if it was true, but you were near death already. I decided to help you and gift you with food." You were that tree, the one with the knot," I gasped, surprised, and she nodded. "I was impressed with how you caught the wild bell boar," she replied, nodding her head. "We will train together. If you need help, just ask." We watched her walk away, her long green braids swinging behind her back. Shayla had helped us survive, despite not knowing who we were, or if we were enemies. She wasn't only beautiful and agile, but intelligent too. I was determined to learn as much as I could from our new allies. We finished our food and searched for Anu and Lelian. They had finished their private meeting and were sitting in the tall grass. I told Lelian about my strange vision. I expected the same concerned reaction Anu had when I told him, but she only smiled. "I am glad you came to me with this. Did that dream seem different than the ones before?" she asked. "Yes, it was sort of mixed up this time," I replied. "I see. It is the same with my own visions. This is caused by the corruption of Lake Mir. It is interfering with your spirit magic, Dreamwalker." There may still be some truth to these visions. The Elorians may very well come to our woods. It is up to us how we use this information. I can teach you how to better use your spirit magic. However, until Lake Muir is cleansed, you can expect more altered visions, she replied smoothly. Then it is a vision, and not a dream? What should we do about the Elorians? I asked, furrowing my brow with concern. I have sent sentries to keep a lookout for any Elorians. Fear not, child, she comforted me, looking into my eyes and holding my cheek with her long fingers. Go rest, for now it is safe. About my mother, Catherine? Do you know where she is? I asked suddenly, before the subject could be changed again. Lelian sighed. I'm afraid I do not. It has been many moons since she left us. I half hoped you would tell me what became of her, she lamented. I was crestfallen. She wasn't here and hadn't been here in a long time. I was still chasing after her, but I was struggling to find the trail. I knew I had to be doing something right to bump into two of her old friends, however. I would ask Lelian about my mother again later, in hopes for a clue.
Hello, my name is Ella, and welcome to my channel. Here I'll be sharing with you my stories, artwork, animations. If you enjoy my content, please support me by clicking the like button, subscribing, sharing, or ringing the bell for notifications. Links to my website and social media are below. I will be releasing content in sequential order, so please check for new chapters each week.